So let's talk a little bit about financial independence number and how you figure that out. Because I know a lot of people are probably feeling right now, like myself, a little behind for retirement. And it's stressful when you talk about money. It can be. So we need to first ask these four questions of ourselves. How much yearly income do you want in retirement? And what your biggest concern is about retirement planning? Because that will gear us towards that financial path that you want to go down. So, and then of course, life expectancy, how long did your parents live? How long did your mom live? How long did your dad live? Your grandparents? That'll kind of give you a good range of your longevity. My grandmother is 99. I'm doomed. Just completely doomed to live a very long life. You can look at it two different ways. She's wonderful, she's great, and she's doing awesome. But also you have to look at what age we want to retire at. And some people want to retire early, some people want to retire later, but you really have to have a really good, solid plan to know exactly when to retire. You also have to understand the tax or the tax advantages and disadvantages onto the date that you retire. Has a lot to do with it. So you need to look at that as well. So let's look at estimating our retirement needs. You have to estimate, how much monthly income you'll actually need in retirement. And a lot of things that I notice when I get together with families is they don't consider inflation and they don't consider the cost of goods and how things are going to go up. And then also what you want to continue to do in retirement, right? We're not dead in retirement. So we want to go out and have vacations and visit family and do all of those things. So we also have to put those costs into it as well. So retirement age, this is crazy. Some people want to retire at, 65. Some people want to wait a little bit longer. You have to look at how much savings you need and delaying retirement, how that increases Social Security and pension benefits, but also you have to look at the tax complications or the tax, everybody has to pay the tax man. So you have to look at that as well. And then our desired lifestyle, right? What kind of lifestyle do we want to have in retirement and what are those income needs? So I sit down with families a lot and do financial needs analysis. And I always ask, what are your top three short term financial goals? And what are your three long term financial goals? And also, a question that I didn't put in here is what are some of your goals in retirement? Some people maybe don't want to work, but they want to volunteer and they want to do other things as well. So we take that into consideration. And do you anticipate any changes in your financial situation in the next 5 years, 10 years? Is there any family that you have to take care of? Do you have children that maybe you need to take care of or have special needs? Or do you have a spouse that has special needs that you're going to have to, slow down for and take care of? And how confident do you feel about your financial situation? Are you insecure about that financial situation, or are you really, really secure? So let's talk about our financial independence number. So, financial independence number is your expenses and your safe withdrawal rate. So, you take your annual income that you expect to have during retirement, and obviously, you look at your withdrawal rate and how much money that you would have out of those accounts, whether it's your retirement accounts, your annuities, all of your investments, and what you've saved. So, nationally, they say your safe withdrawal rate is between 3 and 3.5%, and some say 4. We notice that if you go up to 4, a lot of times we're running out of money a little quicker than what we want. So you also have to look at what sources of income that you have today and those sources of income in retirement, your pensions, your 401k, Social Security, IRAs, other sources, and how much you plan to withdraw from those accounts and how much that will last. And then you also have to create a budget for retirement, comparing your projected income with your expenses and plan for the travel, the hobby, the long-term care and medical costs and helping kids or grandkids financially. And healthcare costs in retirement, your Medicare, your Medigap, your long-term care. And I'm gonna just pause here for a second and talk about long-term care. We just had a big election and nobody is talking about long-term care and what effects long-term care is going to have on our seniors. And I call them the sandwich generation. That's the generation where you have your mom and dad retired and then you are still working yourself and getting ready for retirement, and then you have younger children. And so this is a huge concern. And nobody's talking about long-term care. I know in Washington State and some other states, they're putting payroll tax in just so they can subsidize the long-term care statewide. So we're going to see that across the country eventually this year and next year and the year after, where they're changing laws to incorporate taxes that come out of your paychecks in payroll tax and stuff to subsidize for state aid in long-term care programs. So this is something that is going to affect all of us. So we really need to be preparing for long-term care. And 90% out of 100 65 years or older will have some type of long-term care event in some form or fashion. So that's hip replacement, knee replacement, someone having to take care of them from a heart attack or some kind of
up in no time.
catastrophic.
Jeez.
And then we also have to look in retirement in our healthcare costs is our out-of-pocket expenses, right? Those co-pays, those prescriptions, the whole prescription, the gap, the donut hole that you get caught in, all those kind of things. We want to invest wisely, reduce and eliminate our debt and our credit cards and our mortgage, or look at other things like reverse mortgage is huge for in retirement and can help us with that income gap. Remembering the rule of 100, don't put all your eggs in one basket in investments. We don't want all of our money in the stock market. We don't want all of our money in secured accounts. We need a nice, good, holistic plan. Look at fees. High fees can eat into returns, and focus on income generating or more conservative investments as you're closer to retirement. We have a rule: 5 years before retirement and 5 years after retirement are the most crucial years to look at your financial plan. That is where we're finding, if you make a critical mistake, that it's usually 5 years before retirement or 5 years after retirement. So really seek guidance, consider consulting with a licensed professional on a financial plan for retirement. You want to look at your tax implications, withdrawals from like your IRAs, your 401ks, are they taxable? And your Roth accounts grow and withdrawal tax free if your Social Security is taxable, depending on your income. If you're below that threshold, obviously not, but most of us are going to pay taxes on our Social Security. And then we also have to look at those required minimum distributions at age 73 and what tax implications are on those. And also implications on changing jobs. So estate planning essentials, definitely have an estate plan. I can't stress enough, wills, trusts, power of attorneys, healthcare directives do matter. It saves a lot of heartache and problems with your family and going through probate and all of that stuff. Make sure your beneficiaries are up to date. And don't forget to account for any digital assets that you might have as well. So these are some of the services I offer. I offer income protection and living benefits, term, whole life, IUL, insurance, final expense. We do have a health share program that I'm super excited. We just launched. I have relationships with a few lawyers to help with trust and wills, and I have partnerships with professionals for mortgages and fixed index annuities, guaranteed income annuities for life annuities, and fixed index annuities with long-term care writers. I love this product. I have never seen anything like it for long-term care in all my years. So they're getting really creative to help with those. And if you don't personally have a financial plan, let's set a time together and sit down and look at that. And retirees are usually worried about outliving their income, and people that just have to work um um I don't know what I was going to say there. I had a little note and it doesn't make sense. So that's what happens early in the morning. But um so great referrals for me are parents with minor children and people that need to protect their income with living benefits. And life insurance has changed a lot with living benefits. If you have critical or chronic or terminal illness, you actually can take from the death benefit now. And a lot of people don't know that. So if your husband's in construction like mine is, falls, breaks a leg, is out for 90 days, you actually could take from the death benefit to help pay for your bills and stuff. It's a beautiful um, thing for young families. So it's that extra layer of protection on income. And I absolutely love it. So life insurance is definitely changing. So another great referral for me would be a client looking towards retirement, either 5 years or 5 years after into retirement, and they're worried about their income lasting. So those are great referrals for me. I just want to serve you guys. I call myself a financial servant, and I'm a Google phone book, so I probably have connections to whomever you might need. So if it's not me, I definitely can put you in front of someone that can help you. So thank you today. Thank you for letting me speak and serving you and the community. And I just open it up to any questions if anybody has questions.
Does anybody have any questions for Sherry? Richard Wexler just wanted to thank you for your presentation. Could you explain a little further about digital assets? What would somebody be looking at with digital assets, and what protection mechanisms should they have in place regarding those?
Yeah, digital assets are anything that you sell online. So like if you have an online store, if you have any like I have a ebook, anything like that that you want to protect. So it's just like a business. So you just want to make sure that you have those assets. Also, like your Facebook, your Instagram, your LinkedIn, your profiles and stuff like that. You want to make sure that um in the settings that if you pass, you know what you want to do with those assets as well. So if you want them shut off, just make sure that you have someone in place that can shut those things down if you don't want them on the internet forever.
And with regard to the digital assets, is there something that you put in place, or is that in your trust? Is that in your will with instructions? Or is there a somewhere in the digital asset itself that you've assigned an individual to step in and take care of that? I'm not familiar with that process.
Yeah, so in like for instance, let's say Facebook, it's in your settings. You can actually deem someone to either shut that off or tell them like if I pass away, please shut this off.
But like you're like a Shopify or a business
Yeah,
account.
that is
You-
actually in your will and in your trust.
Okay.
If you have a Shopify account or you have any kind of business online, that definitely should be in your trust. Unless you liquidate that before retirement. But if you start a business in retirement, absolutely that should be in your trust and in your will and how you want that directed. But I think a lot of times people don't think about that. They think, oh, a physical business, right? They're not thinking, oh, I have a digital business. And even if it's a small side little business, you need to know what to do with that.
Karen Midlow says, I highly recommend the book that Sherry has created. It's available on Amazon and it's awesome. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I have a workbook. It's called Don't Wait Until It's Too Late. I call it my grieving project. My dad passed away 2, 3 years ago, and I wrote this book specifically because I was in the ICU and getting bombarded with all these questions. And I'm like, I don't know these answers. Like I should know these answers, and I don't know these answers. And so I wrote a book. It's called Don't Wait Until It's Too Late. It has advanced directive, pulse, it has funeral planning, it has a funeral budget. It's just a great workbook to fill out and um, have it with your will and your trust. It shows all your wishes. You can do your obit, you can do everything ahead of time. So your family's not bombarded like I was in that grief. So um, it's just super, super helpful to have those conversations beforehand. In the book, it also has questions to ask your family to talk about those hard subjects that nobody wants to talk about.